around you now.
What's up guys, Magic Matrix back again with another video, and today I've got a really awesome card trick to show you. I'll start off by giving the deck a quick shuffle, and if you were here you could also shuffle the cards, but right now I'm here by myself, so I'll go ahead and give them a shuffle myself. And once this had been done, after the shuffling was complete, I would have you select any card that you wanted. So I'll spread the deck out, go ahead and pick a card. Let's say in this case you decided to go with this card right here. I would not look at the card, only you would. So please go ahead and remember that card right there. I'll turn my head, memorize this card, I'll place it back face down, and now what I want to do is make some piles here on the table. So just like this, making a few piles for us to work with. That should be good. Now, what I want you to do is take your selected card and place it on top of any one of these piles. Let's say in this case, you want to place it on this pile right here. Now that's perfect. What we're going to do is combine all these piles into one big mess, just like this, making sure that everything is being completely shuffled up and mixed up, just like that. I would say that's a pretty good shuffle, don't you? Well, if you thought that was enough, it wasn't. We're gonna do it again, making some more piles, this time face up. So going through, making a complete mess of these cards, just like this. Going all the way through. Almost there. Just a few more cards, just like this. So now we have even more piles here that we have to mix up. So here we go. We'll mix all the piles back up together just like this, making a complete mess of all these cards just like that. So now we've mixed up the cards even further. You probably don't know where your card is. There's no way that I could know where your card is. And now we're going to try and find it. Now, if I were any real magician, I should be able to tell you what your card is. So focus on your card, and I'm seeing some black. Is it a black card? It's a black card, good. It's a black card. I'm seeing spades and clubs. Clubs? No, I'm definitely seeing spades. It is a spade? It's a spade, perfect. Okay, black spade. Now we have ace through king. It's definitely not on the high end. It's pretty low, very low actually. Somewhere between an ace, 2, and a 3, somewhere around there. I'm really seeing ace though. Is your card the ace of spades? It is the ace of spades. Well, there you go. I'm a real magician. I was able to tell you what your card was. But we're not quite done yet. We still need to find your card. So after all this messing around with the deck, after all this shuffling and mixing up, let's spell your card. Ace of spades. A-C-E-O-F-S-P-A-D-E-S. And the next card, hopefully, is your selection, the ace of spades. That is the trick, guys, and if you want to learn it, be sure to stick around for the tutorial. Alright guys, let's get into the tutorial for the trick that you just watched. This is a really, really fun trick, and I just want to clarify before we go any further that I do remember that someone said that using a one-way deck can make it easier to find someone's card, because if they place it in the opposite direction, you can clearly see when you spread the cards out that the card selected is the one that is facing the opposite direction. So just to make sure that no one thinks that anymore, I made sure to shuffle the deck just like this, so the cards are going every which way, so there's no way that I could know where a card is. But I also just want to say that this trick, just like the other one that I did, the circus card trick, it does not matter if you're using a one-way deck or not. These tricks can be done using any deck. So now we'll get into how to perform the trick. Start off by allowing the spectator to give the deck a shuffle just like this. And once they're satisfied with the cards, you can go on with the trick. But remember, always allow the spectator to shuffle if you can so that they really feel involved and really feel like the cards are being mixed. So now we've given the cards a little bit of a mix. You're going to allow the spectator to pick out a card. So you'll spread the deck out on the table just like this, and they can select one. Let's say they choose this card right here. You won't look at the card, only they will. But before you have them pick up the card, you need this card to be here on the table. And the reason is, you need to remember the card that is on the bottom of this deck. They've picked the card, it's on the table. You're going to point at it and say, please remember this card. And as you do this, as you point at the card, your hand will just naturally tilt up, causing the deck to be vertical like this. And now you can see, I can clearly see what this card is here, the Four of Hearts. So you have the deck, they've picked their card, you say, please look at and remember this card, and now you get to take a peek at the bottom card. So you need to remember the bottom card, in my case, the Four of Hearts. So they have their card, they look at it, in this case it is the Jack of Diamonds, but you would not see it in a normal performance. And now you're going to tell them that you're going to make a few piles. Now you're not just making any random amount of piles, you're actually making 8 piles. But you don't tell the spectator this, you just tell them that you're going to make a few. Now the piles do not need to be even. You could have 1 card in one pile, 10 cards in another. Just make sure that you fairly distribute them so that you end up with 8 piles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like that. So now we have 8 piles of cards. Now keep track of the 8th pile, because the last pile that you put down will have that card that you're remembering, in my case the Four of Hearts. So keep track of the last pile, the 8th pile. Now there's 2 scenarios that can happen in this trick. I'll come back and show you the second scenario after, but for now we'll go into the first scenario where you tell the spectator to take their card and place it on any pile that they want. Let's say they place it on this pile here. Now the reason I say there's 2 scenarios is because if they place their card on top of the 8th pile that has the bottom card that you're remembering, there's something different that you'll have to do. But for now, we'll use the scenario that is most likely to happen where they'll place it on any one of the other 7 piles. So they place it on this pile here, and what you're going to do is begin to combine the piles into one pretty fast, so it seems like you're randomly picking and mixing up the deck. Now what needs to happen is you want the card you're remembering, the bottom card here, the Four of Hearts. I want that card to be on top of their card because the card I'm remembering is basically acting as a key card. But don't take this pile first and place it on top of their card, because that will raise some suspicion because you're immediately going for the last pile and placing it directly on top of their card to start with. So start off by taking any 2 piles, let's say this pile and stacking them together, and then maybe taking this pile and putting it there, and then maybe take their pile and place it on top of this pile here, and then take the pile that has that card I'm remembering and place it on top of theirs. And then maybe take this, place it over here, this over here, and this over here. Once you've placed that bottom card on top of their card, you can stack the cards however you want to. So now you tell the spectator that the cards have been all mixed up, randomly, piles on top of piles, and you tell them that you're going to do it again. You tell them you're going to make some more piles. Now this time, you're going to be dealing the cards face up into different piles, and it does not matter how many piles you make. However, there are some very specific things that you need to do. You want each pile to have anywhere between 5 to 8 cards in it. So beginning, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep an eye out for the bottom card that you're remembering. So in my case, the Four of Hearts. So we're on to the next pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I see my card, the Four of Hearts. Now, as soon as I see the card that I'm remembering, I'm going to stop on that pile, and I'm going to move to the next one because I know that the next card I deal down is going to be the spectator's card. So I'll move these piles up here so we have a little bit more room for me to show you. So I've dealt down this card, the 4 of hearts. I start on the next pile. 1, I see the Jack of diamonds. So now I'm remembering this card. I can forget the 4 of hearts. I want to remember Jack of diamonds. Now you want to deal about 5 or 6 cards on top of this Jack of diamonds so it actually looks like a normal pile. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now you'll move on to the next pile. In this pile, you are going to be spelling out their card. So the card that we're remembering here is the Jack of diamonds, so spell out their card in this next pile. JACKOFDIAMONDS. And then you'll move on to the last pile, or however many piles you can get with the cards remaining in your hand. So now we have a random amount of piles. In this case, we actually did end up with 8 piles, but it doesn't matter how many piles you have. Now, when you pick these piles back up, there's a very specific thing you need to do. You want to start this time by picking up the pile where you spelled out their card, flipping it face down like this. And then you want to take the pile that has their card, flip it face down, and place it underneath that top pile that you had in your hand first. Then you can place these cards down, and you want to make sure that all the rest of these cards here go underneath this packet. So you could flip over this, maybe take this here, and then place this on top because that would mean the cards are going underneath. Then maybe take this, mix these all together, and also place those underneath, just like that. So now it seems like you've mixed up the cards even more. At this point, you're going to be telling the spectator that you have no idea where their card is, they probably don't know where their card is, but you're going to try and find it. Then you'll pause and tell them if you were a real magician, you'd be able to tell them what their card is. So you're going to tell them to focus on their card, and you're going to act like you're just now figuring it out, but you know already what the card is. I saw their card because I knew where it was after my key card, so I know their card is already the Jack of diamonds. So I'll act like I'm trying to get a feel for their card. I say, I'm seeing red and black. I'm definitely seeing it's a red card. Is it a red card? They'll obviously say yes. Then you say hearts and diamonds. You can kind of be having trouble figuring out which one it is, but you'll eventually settle on diamonds, so it's a red diamond. And then you'll say we have ace through king. It's definitely not a low card, more of a high card, somewhere between 10, jack, queen, king. And then you'll eventually settle on jack, and you'll ask them, is their card the Jack of diamonds? They would say, yes, it is. And you tell them that you really are a real magician. You were able to tell them what their card was. At this point, they'll probably think the trick is over, but you'll remind them that you still need to find their card. So you're going to spell their card, Jack of diamonds. And if you stacked the cards correctly, no matter what their card is, if you made the piles correct, if you spell out their card, the next card after will be theirs. So, J-A-C-K for Jack, O-F for of, and D-I-A-M-O-N-D-S for diamonds. The next card is the Jack of diamonds. And that will work every time if you stack the piles correctly. Okay, so now I'm going to show you the scenario that could happen if the spectator places their card on top of the 8th pile. So I'll go ahead here, we'll pull out the same selection that we had before, the Jack of diamonds, and we'll place the 4 of hearts on the bottom. So we've made our 8 piles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, just like this. Now, let's say the spectator decides when you tell them to place a card, their card on top of one of the piles, they pick the 8th pile. That's totally okay, there's just an extra step that you need to add in. Now, you know that you need to add this step in, but the spectator will just think that it's part of the trick, as long as you don't do the trick twice. So they'll just think this is how the trick is supposed to go anyways. So they take their selection, the Jack of diamonds, and they place it on top of your pile that has the card you're remembering, in my case, the 4 of hearts. All you do is split each pile in half. We'll see if I can fit this in here on camera. All you do, you'd split this pile in half, this pile in half, same with this pile, all the way through each pile, just like this. And the reason this works now is because you've split all the piles in half. Here's the 8th pile. We split the pile in half. So now the selection, the Jack of Diamonds, is here, and the card that we're remembering, the 4 of Hearts, is here. So now when I gather up the piles, I can still take this now smaller pile and place it on top of the selection. So now it makes it look like even more of a mess because now you have to put 16 piles together. So the same rules still apply. Make sure that you don't start out with the 2 piles that have the card you're remembering and the spectator's card. Just go through, put some random piles together to start with, and then you can stack the 2 piles that have the card you're remembering and the spectator's card, place those on top of something, and then just stack all the other piles together in any random order. Once the remembered card that you are remembering, in my case the 4 of Hearts, is on top of the spectator's card, it doesn't matter how you stack the piles. And then once the cards were stacked, you could just continue the trick like normal. There's no other extra added steps. And that's how you do it if the spectator placed their card on the 8th pile. So that is how you do this trick. I think it's really fun. It does have quite a few steps, so definitely go back and watch through the tutorial again if you didn't understand everything. I know for me, when I was first learning this trick, it took me a while to get down all the steps memorized and make sure I was doing everything in the correct order and the correct way. But once you get it, it's a really, really fooling trick that I know your spectators will love. So I hope you enjoyed this video, have fun learning this trick, and I'll see you next time.